Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep into another Demon Slayer video, and today we are discussing just how strong Zenitsu, I don't know how to pronunciate this shit, you guys know this by now, my Japanese is terrible. So in this video we will discuss his agility, strength and abilities, along with why he falls asleep during the crucial moments, because everyone is wondering that. Why does Zenitsu fall asleep? Why does he have anxiety? I'm gonna try my best scientifically explaining this, and if you want us to cover more characters in the series, leave a comment below. But for now, let's talk about Zenitsu's main skill, and that's his daredevil level increased sense of hearing per se, auditory perception. To explain it in simple terms, auditory perception is the way the human body perceives sound. It perceives sound by detecting vibrations, and the vibrations can be heard through solid, liquid or gas. When these vibrations happen, pressure gets put into small hair cells that are located in the inner ear. That pressure sends a message to the brain, and the more pressure that is on that hair, the louder the sound becomes. And I know what you're thinking, is this anime balls deep or anime science deep? Yeah, I'm kinda your teacher and you guys comment that here and there with my science videos. I'm just here doing my part. I hope you guys learned something right there. But basically, what is also located in the inner ear is the vestibular system. This is the system that is used for the body's sense of balance. When a person closes their eyes, the body cannot comprehend to the brain about what's happening, so the person starts to lose balance. It's ironic that Zenitsu is the most balanced while sleeping. This must be due to not only his increased hearing, but his breath style correlating with his vestibular system. However, this concept isn't really new, as even in Western comics, the increased sense of hearing is followed with the loss of visual support, Daredevil being one of the biggest poster boys for this example. Even in olden samurai martial arts ideology, depending solely on hearing is a training that was promoted heavily. So Zenitsu falling asleep, closing his eyes, and then showing unreal fighting ability with the use of hearing alone, it would make a lot of sense. Zenitsu's hearing is shown to be super strong to the point where he can even hear and distinguish the difference between the heartbeat of demons and humans, similar to how Tanjiro can do this with his nose with the smelling sense, as shown when Zenitsu instantly knew that Tanjiro's box had a demon inside it. This also helps him detect enemies and demons nearby. An example of this is when Zenitsu was the first one to sense danger when he and Tanjiro went into the drum house, and likewise when they went into the spider forest with the fifth lower demon moon. Also with Darky, he detected her being a demon instantly when they were pretending to be, you know what I'm saying, oh damn women. Now in the anime we haven't seen much about Zenitsu's hearing yet, but in the manga, Jigoro saves Zenitsu from his shitty situation with being in a buttload of debt, getting beat up daily, and the man just had it rough. Now when Jigoro comes along and offers to pay off Zenitsu's debt in exchange for his freedom, Jigoro mentions that he himself had heard the vibrations in Zenitsu's heart. Jigoro also mentions that all the Thunder Breath style users have the increased sense of hearing. This comes back to the concept of predestination in the series. But now let's cover his speed. Speed is one of Zenitsu's most important traits. His agility and speed is probably one of the fastest characters in a long time that we have seen. This man does his attacks so swiftly that we can honestly think Zenitsu can be compared to Sonic or the Flash. Both of them travel 1000 miles per hour easily or higher. But Thunderclap is Zenitsu's main attack, and this lightning attack Zenitsu uses falls under the Thunder Breath style. Zenitsu's attack is so fast to the naked eye, no one sees them happening. A literal example of this is when we first witnessed Zenitsu going full badass killing a demon, and that demon didn't even know what happened as his head slid off his body. That's some serious samurai sci-fi shit. This is fundamentally because of Zenitsu's training for his breath style. As mentioned by Zenitsu and his master later on, even by Tanjiro, the breath of the thunder style makes the user focus on their leg muscles the most. However, like all the breathing style, the thunder style makes it to the point that the user has to fully grasp every muscle and energy flowing through them. This would allow them to control that energy through the breathing technique, which would then mean to gauge the oxygen and glucose level in each specific muscle group. And by doing so, when the energy is accumulated and set off in the user's legs and then exploding all in 1 second like lightning ripping through air, this will produce the thunder boom sound effect which we can witness with Zenitsu's first form. Effectively, this is supposed to make Zenitsu as fast as lightning. And I don't know if this is actually humanly possible, but this is an anime with supernatural creatures and demon slayers mastering breathing techniques, for God's sake. But let's dive into how fast lightning actually is. Lightning could be as fast as 220 million miles per hour. In Zenitsu's fight against the spider demon, we see how fast thunderclap is. We also cannot forget about Zenitsu's god speed, an ability that he came up with to increase his speed even further. Although Zenitsu can only use god speed twice due to the strain on his legs, it still allows him to increase his attack by 6 folds. Now this speed is proven with the fight against Kaigaku. Kaigaku is a strong upper demon moon 6. They even refer to Kaigaku's attack as in the blink of an eye. Now how fast is a blink of an eye? On average it's 300 to 400 milliseconds or 3/10 of a second. That's pretty fast. Now if you're pretty mind blown by that, what's also nuts is that Zenitsu has superhuman strength just like all the others. And I say this because Zenitsu repeatedly says it. He had to go through a daily hellish training regime. He fights to protect almost 200 people from that demon who fused with the train. He helps fight against Darky, who was also a demon moon that literally shredded buildings in half. And lastly, he goes toe to toe with not only his superior, but superior turned demon upper moon 6, Kaigaku solo. And we can't forget, in the Kaigaku fight, Zenitsu comes up with the 7th Thunder style, Flaming Thunder Guard. That is a lightning and fire dragon. Yes, a dragon. And Zenitsu can use this attack at god speed. To add to this, due to his unreal speed, Zenitsu's cutting speed also subsequently increases. Although when it comes to the cutting power of a sword, it is based on a couple of different factors, being edge alignment, sharpness of the sword, and lastly the speed. The force behind the swing itself will fundamentally be determined by the mass of the object times the acceleration of the movement. And if we really take it as though Zenitsu is moving at the speed of light or close to it, as again it's not really possible to move at the speed of light, but let's say something to that effect, since that's how the characters are describing it, then the momentum of Zenitsu's swing could probably even slice the earth in half. Actually, the swing of his sword would exert a force so high that it might even rip the surface of the space-time continuum. Now, if you think I'm trolling right now, I'm really not. More than likely, in the Demon Slayer anime, to keep things realistic, Zenitsu is not traveling at the speed of light. It's more likely the speed of sound, which is Mach 5 at best, and even that would produce a force so powerful that it would easily crack a dent on the earth, such as breaking surface level concrete, something like that. Another trait is Zenitsu's resilience. Zenitsu has a hard life, although carrying a strict teacher on top of that who showed him tough love. Zenitsu got struck by lightning. He was constantly belittled by his superiors and more than likely got social anxiety from all of this trauma. But now that I have mentioned his anxiety and mental issues, let's briefly explain, in my opinion, why Zenitsu falls asleep. So if you're an anime only watcher or you read the manga, you pretty much know that Zenitsu's character has always cried and ran away from every situation the trio put in. If he doesn't do this, he will fall asleep and become a badass. Now later on in the manga, Zenitsu is in the pillar training arc and he becomes super powerful. Zenitsu kind of becomes someone we don't really recognize. For example, when Tanjiro asked him if he was okay, we would expect him to be whining, right? But no, Zenitsu was super serious whilst on the boulder, as he conquered it later on in chapter 136. Therefore, Zenitsu fights asleep to dissociate himself from these feelings of anxiety. By falling asleep, Zenitsu will not be hindered by negative emotions or doubt his ability by overthinking. Therefore, as Demon Slayer progresses the story from his introduction to what he becomes now, Zenitsu's training after every single arc alongside Inosuke and Tanjiro, it helps his mentality to improve. For example, Zenitsu mentions this himself, how Tanjiro is an inspiration as he has a calm demeanor that tries his best to help everyone. This is what Zenitsu also wants to use his power for, just like Inosuke as he was dying against the spider. So what caused the sudden growth in character? Why can't Zenitsu fight without sleeping later on? Well, initially Zenitsu lacked confidence in himself due to only mastering one form out of 6 from the Breath of Thunder. This would cause anyone to feel disheartened in their abilities, as they will feel they are not capable disciple of their sensei. A rational person would think, Wait, do I really have the talent for this? This is depicted to us clearly in Zenitsu's backstory. So due to this problem and others which include his debt, it adds pressure to his anxiety. On top of that, Zenitsu says he was an orphan where no one expected anything of him. No one dreamed of a future for him where he can latch on to fulfill a dream. Anxiety causes Zenitsu to overthink and have negative emotions that will hinder him in battle. So basically, during the journey with Tanjiro and Inosuke, they would train after every arc. Zenitsu would keep up, but he knew his doubts were holding him back from fulfilling his true potential just like the others. However, these doubts would have to be pushed aside as a sense of duty to his sensei would have to be fulfilled later on. Zenitsu realizes to avenge his sensei, he needs to fight confidently without going into his sleepy state. This responsibility and rage is what pushes him over the edge to not think negatively of himself, but strive to avenge him. This is proven due to the fact that once Zenitsu read the letter informing him of what happened to his sensei during the Rock Pillar training arc in chapter 135, Zenitsu's whole demeanor changes shown in chapter 144. The flashback occurs of him reading it regarding his sensei dying and in the manner of what he did and how he felt and what exactly happened to his brother. As a result, these chapters reinforce that Zenitsu believes his anxiety and inadequacy needs to be pushed aside because they were the very reason his sensei died. Due to this mentality, he did not do anything to stop his so-called brother Kaigaku from becoming a demon that his sensei completely despised. Zenitsu realizes that he has taken too long to become the student he strived to be and unlock his potential to save his brother. He did not fulfill his master's wishes whilst he was still alive to prove to him that his belief in him was true and it wasn't taken for granted or wasted. Zenitsu genuinely wanted to be stronger and pay back his sensei for all the effort and burden he took care of, such as the debt and all the whining. However, in the end, he realizes he will miss out on this opportunity, but he could have prevented this as he dreamed of this in the spider arc when he thought he was about to die and his aspirations. Because remember, at that time, if Zenitsu did not have his anxiety or fears to fight with his eyes closed, he could have been strong enough already to earn his brother's respect, as well as stopping him from becoming a demon as a result, which would then prevent his sensei from doing what he did. In the end, Zenitsu suffers by fighting with his eyes open only after the worst things that could have happened in his life has already happened. As a result, the seventh form is not really an ass pull at all. Zenitsu learns to fight by not falling asleep due to his pain. Now back to what I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Let's explain how Zenitsu fights whilst asleep. We know it's badass and he conquers it later on, but how is this happening? So basically, this is the body fight or flight mode. Fight or flight mode is the human's body to respond to stress. Humans have this system since the caveman days when cavemen would go out to hunt and end up being chased by a predator instead. When this happens, the body's physical and emotional levels increase, as does the heart rate and blood pressure. Adrenaline is also increased and the body has a reaction to move blood from the digestive system to the muscles instead. Him being overly emotional on the outside and the emotional turmoil he carries on in the inside, paired with fear, anxiety and his intense emotion, it triggers his fight or flight mode all the time. Now in the caveman days, the body would only take 20 minutes to an hour to recover, but in Zenitsu's case that cannot happen when he's fighting a demon, so he has to find some form of peace daily, and I believe he uses that by being flirtatious with women, specifically Nezuko. He falls in love with him. But funny fact is, Nezuko described later on in the manga who is her perfect man, and she describes Zenitsu. So if you haven't seen my other video how Zenitsu is shipped with Nezuko and how they will end up married, since the creator of Demon Slayer is really pushing that, go watch that video after this one. But back to the point, why does Zenitsu fall asleep, right? Well, the human body also responds by sleeping in times of stress. There is a concept called learned helplessness, which essentially breaks down to our brain's emotional memory storage. The learned helplessness is an anxiety that comes from childhood uncontrollable situations like parents getting divorced, and Zenitsu didn't have parents, he was an orphan. When a person experiences things and the brain has to process as a memory, the brain stores the memory first in the short-term memory section. Then if more experiences come faster, the brain consolidates these experiences into memories. That's why when you remember something from your childhood, you think of a scent or a color, not not the entire memory, and you think, oh yeah, I remember that smell, that's why that shit smell good, you know what I'm saying? So your emotions determine what is important and not important. That's why there's a thing called nostalgia. When we look at Naruto, we're like, oh my god, this is amazing. That's part of your nostalgia. So the important memories can overwhelm the short-term memory of the brain, and when there's too many memories to process, it drives the person to sleep. Sleeping allows the brain enough time to sort out what's important and not important, and that is what is happening to Zenitsu when he falls asleep, but as I explained, he conquers it later on. Anyway guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you have learned something new, scientific, you can call me anime science deep, and you now know why he conquers it later on, how it was not an ass pull. So if you want more Demon Slayer content, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, follow us on Instagram or Twitter, and I'll see you guys next time.